Welcome to the Bestseller Club series interview. This is Som Batla, author of 22 books at Amazon and founder of Author Freedom Hub. This is a community of aspiring authors who thrive with self-reliance. And this series, we talk to various authors who come to community, write the books, publish the book, and hit bestseller in the country, right? So today we have with us Dr. K.R.S. Nair. So he's a multi-talented person. He's a veterinary surgeon. He has been a assistant professor in Kerala Agriculture University and a banker as well. He calls him as a behavioral scientist, a corporate trainer, and author. And he joined my community in the month of August 2020. And after that, he published his first book in December 2020 and second book in January 2021. And his book has hit bestseller in Amazon India. So if you are someone who is watching this interview for the first time, I request you to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, because I'm going to produce so many interviews with so many amazing authors. So welcome, Dr. KRS Nair.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to have you. How does it feel to publish two books on your own and hit bestseller in India? How does it feel?
Great, fantastic. Actually,
Wonderful.
it's a self-actualization for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. So thank you so much for being here, Dr. Nair. So let's now start this discussion. I was reading your profile before recording this interview. You had got 10 awards and multiple careers you have into veterinary surgery and then agriculture university as a professor, then banker, and now you are a behavioral scientist and an author. So why don't you start with your life journey? Where did you start as your childhood career, and then getting into different profiles, and finally into writing and publishing a book and hitting bestseller at Amazon? Let's hear from you. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. In fact, I started my career after my completion of the education.
Mm-hmm.
I took professional qualification in veterinary science from Kerala Agriculture University.
Right.
After that, I was working as veterinary surgeon for some time, about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I went for my PG in poultry science. On completion of that, I got direct appointment as assistant professor, skipping that initial stage of lecturer. Because of my outstanding academic achievements, I got direct appointment. Actually, in 3 departments, I got direct appointment at the same time.
Wonderful.
I chose one. I joined as assistant professor in Kerala Agriculture University.
Mm-hmm.
But soon after that, I got appointed from State Bank of India as a rural development officer. And then I joined the bank. So my active service, my lengthy service actually was with SBI, and I retired from SBI from the senior management grades after about 33 years of service.
Wonderful.
So that's about my career. And as you observed, my academic qualifications are in various fields like animal husbandry, business administration, banking and commerce, training and development, etc. And the awards that you mentioned about, actually, I got the Commonwealth Bureau of Animal Health Prize from England for my outstanding academic achievements, because I got OGPA, what they call overall grade point average of 4 out of 4.
Okay.
It's only can be matched, it cannot be broken by anybody. So 4 out of 4 I got for, and that is the reason why I got direct appointment as assistant professor in Kerala Agriculture University also.
Wonderful.
Then I got award from Indian Council of Agricultural Research, New Delhi, Indian Society for Training and Development, all these actually for academic achievements. Then once I joined the bank, I got 5 awards from SBI, including the best trainer of the bank also. So that way, altogether, I got 10 awards. That's about my academic career. That's
privileged to
my,
have people like you in the community. I'm privileged to have people like you in the community. Amazing, amazing journey you have. So before you go further, I want to show people your book. This is the book which Dr. Nair has written. It's a second book, Incredible Word Power, a unique human endowment. No 3 strengths and 4 keys, how to prudently script one's destiny and be a wholesome winner for life. So this is a second book in the series called Holistic Personal Development. Let me show the first book as well. The first book is Boundless Power of Mindful Living. Pamper your inner self, stay connected to spirit and soar higher, grow inside out and reap the best of life. So wonderful, amazing journey, Dr. Nair. Such a rewarding career you have, and after that you have come out with wonderful book as a behavioral scientist. So now let's talk about your journey is really, really inspiring. With so many people will get inspiration from the journey of yours. But now let's talk about your author journey as such into the behavioral science, the kind of books you're writing after joining the community. I know you have written the book earlier also into the subject book. You'll talk about that as well. But now let's talk about your journey as a behavioral scientist, as an author into the personal development field. Let's talk about that.
Okay, sir. I have specialized in behavioral science, and I have been a BS trainer for last about 20-25 years,
Hmm.
training mainly the employees of SBI across the country.
Right.
More than 50,000 employees of SBI and other banks like HDFC Bank, Central Bank of India, etc., college teachers and all, on these behavioral science, different aspects of behavioral science. So I've been training them. And so that way, this writing about holistic personal development came to me easily. So there was no training for that. It was just like a flow. It was coming easily, and writing was easy for me. So that's the way in which I stepped into these behavioral science areas of writing. Before that, of course, as you said, I published books on behavioral science, of course, then other banking aspects, animal husbandry, etc. That these books were written actually for the internal circulation amongst the employees of SBI. So that was my previous. Of course, prior to that, I have published a collection of short stories, and altogether about 100 articles, scientific as well as popular articles, I have published in various magazines and all, including the prestigious Indian Management of All India Management Association, New Delhi, then various in-house magazines of SBI with national circulation.
Wonderful.
I was the chief editor of one national journal of SBI training system for 6 years. So this is the background which I am having in the area of writing.
Wonderful.
So writing has been a passion
writing
for
is
me.
something, yeah, writing is your passion, as you're rightly saying. So what inspired you to write? When did you start writing first? What exactly? Because many people think that writing is very difficult. What exactly is your inspiration? When did you started writing? And let's talk about that.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for asking the question, because writing has been a forte and passion for me right from my adolescence. Because my inspiration actually was given basically from my maternal uncle, who was a renowned author in Malayalam. He has to his credit more than 50 titles. And he was a self-made man who never went to any college and all. He privately studied because our grandparents could not send him to a college. So he privately studied and took 3 MAs, MA in Malayalam, English as well as Hindi, and with first rank from Kerala University. And the first book that he wrote after getting his MA in Malayalam was taken by the university as a subsidiary reference material, reading material for Malayalam MA people. So that way, I got my basic motivation and inspiration. He was actually my role model during my formative years. So that's how I got inspiration. And I found him as a child. I found him just like taking food, just like taking bath every day. He was spending some time every day for reading. So my habit of reading right from early the formative years, I got from him only. So that I found was extremely helpful in developing myself, in developing my imagination, my creativity, etc. So that's the way in which I stepped into the realm of writing.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And now let's get into your book, Incredible Word Power. What exactly is the power of word? Before you get into this, I was reading a book by Tony Robbins, Awaken the Power, Awaken the Joint Within. He had categorized 3-4 pages filled up with the power of words. Like on left side, there are words which are, kind of apathy and kind of a very depressing word. On the right side, he has mentioned the words which could be replaced by the positive features. So now let's hear from you. You have your author of book called Incredible Word Power. Now let's hear from you. What do you want to give a message to the people by this book, Incredible Word Power? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. In fact, the incredible word power, the very meaning of the title is that your word determine your world. The way in which you are forming your words, it is because basically from your thinking, the thought process. There is a saying in Sanskrit, Yad Bhavam Tad Bhavati. What is your mental disposition, you will become accordingly only. So I form my words from my thinking, from my perception, from my feelings, from my experience, etc. And accordingly, I will be creating my biology. I will be transforming my biology based on my words only. So I have to always see that my words are truthful. It should be honored always. It should be kept always. And at the same time, the words spoken by other people also will influence me. So I have to be very careful. So that's why for everybody, this is a very important factor, that your words affect your world. Your words create your world, rather. Your words create your world. So you have to be very careful about what you say and how you say. So
Hmm.
that is the basic concept of this particular idea of incredible word power. The because it is just like a tip of an iceberg. The world see your behaviors, world see your actions and all. It is tip of an iceberg. The major chunk of the iceberg, that is your mindset. That is hidden to the world, outside world. They are not seeing that. They are only seeing your words and actions and performance. So where from this is coming? This is coming from your perception. So how I should be forming my perception, how I should be thinking properly. All these things are given in detail in the book. That is the idea of this incredible word power. And
So what? Yeah.
I'm
So
giving examples from Indian epics, how in the yesteryears, in the olden age, words were venerated by our people, ancient Indians and the ancient rishis, our sages, what sort of advice they were giving to the world, that how the world should be treated, and like that and all, which I feel that the modern India, the major reason for the cultural decadence is that we are not honoring our word. We are not keeping our words. We are not mindful of our words. So all
right.
these things are the problem that is creating all the problems right now.
Wonderful, wonderful. So words mean spoken word as well as whatever we speak to ourselves
Yeah,
internally.
yeah.
Right, right, right.
Spoken words as well as the words that you are writing, everything.
So what are the three strengths and four keys you want to cover in this book? What are three strengths? Could you just briefly talk about the three
Yeah,
strengths?
definitely, sir. The three strengths, what I mean is that is the Ichha Shakti. One is your willpower.
Hmm.
Your Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, power of knowledge,
Hmm.
and Kriya Shakti, power of action. So
Okay.
I'm saying that, see, Swami Vivekananda said that Ichha Shakti is supremely important. Yes, Ichha Shakti is most important, inarguably, no doubt about that. But then the thing is that with the mere Ichha Shakti, you cannot succeed in life. So Ichha Shakti, if you want to follow that, then you have to have knowledge. So the Jnana Shakti is equally important. And Ichha Shakti and Jnana Shakti together also will not help you reach anywhere, because unless you take action. So
Yes.
Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So I'm
Wonderful.
explaining in detail in the book as to how important they are, each one of these are. So that's the three powers which I am talking about in the book, with
Wonderful.
examples also. Then I come to the four keys. Keys. See, everything that we get in our life, it is a stimulus. Stimulus may be coming from within or without.
Yes.
Either from within yourself or from without. Others are giving you stimulus. And you are responding to this stimulus.
Yes.
But these responses are of two types. Actually, the major types of response that we give are not to be called as responses, but these are reactions only. Reactions are those responses which come instantaneously, which come suddenly, without applying your mind,
Yes.
without any thoughtful thinking about as to what the pros and cons will be, like
Right.
that. Whereas if you are giving proper response, you will be thinking about what type of response you should give to the given stimulus. So it is
Correct.
said that between stimulus and response, there is a space.
Yes.
In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response.
Absolutely.
In those
Yes.
choices lie our happiness and our growth.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
your happiness and growth will depend upon the type of choice that you are making from within that space available between stimulus and response. There I
Absolutely.
am
Yes.
talking about the four keys which are lying there. The creator has deposited four keys in this space between stimulus and response. These keys are self-awareness, conscience, independent will, and imagination. These are four keys which are not given to given to any other living beings, animals, birds, or all other living beings don't have these four unique endowment. This is given only to human being. Unfortunately, the thing is that we are not using these keys properly to have a fulfilled life. That is the problem.
Yes. 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 Most people are living like animals, eating, taking
Yeah.
food, and living a normal life, but using awareness, consciousness, and then taking,
Independent will,
independent will, and last one you said,
imagination.
imagination. Einstein said that imagination is more powerful than knowledge.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
In fact, Sir Oliver Wendell Holmes, I remember, Sir Oliver Wendell Holmes, who is a great philosopher, thinker, and once a Chief Justice of USA, he stated that what lies before you and what lies behind you are tiny matters compared to what lies within you. What lies
Correct.
before you and what lies behind you are tiny matters compared to what lies within you. And we are blissfully aware or unaware of this. With the result, we are living a what do you call a mediocre type of life and going to the and to quote Oliver Wendell Holmes again, most of us are going back to the graveyard without the music in us being brought out. The richest place on earth, if you ask me, the richest place on earth is not the place where you find the gold mines. It is not the place where you find the oil wells like Venezuela, Canada, UAE, Kuwait. It's no. It is not none of these places. The most wealthy, rich place in the world is cemetery.
Yes.
Cemetery where the invaluable, priceless talents, capabilities, potential, etc., are buried forever. That's the richest place in the earth.
Wonderful.
So because people, most of us are going back to the graveyard without the music in us being brought out.
Absolutely. Yes. There is a wonderful quote which says like this: everyone comes with them with a wonderful gift, but most of them don't ever open the package.
That's it. The Creator has given us so many birth gifts while sending it into the world.
Right.
He expects us to open it when living here and go back to Him at the end of our life. We should be going back empty-handed. But what happens is that most of us are going back with in these birth gifts, the invisible birth gifts in our hands, unopened. It's an insult to the God, insult to the Creator.
Yes.
In spiritual way, I used to say that God will not give you again human birth, because if He is insulting you, if you are insulting Him, then He will not give you human birth again.
Dr. Nair, see, common sense is something which is not very common these days. Common practice, it's not common practice. Yeah. See, people know these things, that human species is the most, superior, species on the planet. They know that we are like superior to animals with the four keys which you have already told. But what is the reason that people don't ever open their packages? What exactly you think is the reason? Why?
So one common reason which I find is that there is a tendency among people. In fact, I think the majority of the people are like that. We always underestimate our brain power and overestimate the brain power of the other person.
Oh.
It is applicable to everybody. I underestimate the brain power of my friend, whereas my friend also is underestimating himself and overestimating me. So that means the real success starts when you start believing yourself. Unless you believe in yourself, who else will believe? So success basically starts from belief in oneself. That creates your world. That creates your success. So one of the major reasons, there may be other reasons also, but one of the major reasons is that always we are underestimating ourselves and overestimating other people. Now you are not finding only, sir. In fact, in banks, I was most of the time I was in the loan section. So we used to give a number of loans by taking the thumb impression. The thumb impression. In fact, later on when I became the bank inspector, when I went to Orissa, Bengal, and other states, Madhya Pradesh, etc., I found that rural loans, major chunk of these loans are given by getting the agreements executed just by putting the thumb impression. I never asked, or I never wondered as to how these amounts will be, in case they are defaulting, the borrowers are defaulting, how these loans will be recovered. I never asked, because I know pretty well that these documents can be taken to a court of law, and we can say that this is the thumb impression of so and so. There is nobody in the whole world, the whole planet, there is no other person who has got the exactly this type of thumb impression as this thumb impression is there in the as thumb impression put in the agreement. What I am saying is that your thumb impression is unique for you. Your iris is unique for you. That is why this biometric ATM and all. Your iris is unique for you. The lines under the tongue, your lines under the ventral part of your feet, all these external features are unique for you. If you can believe that, if you can admit that, then we should also admit that, like these external features that are unique for a person, there are certain attributes within the person which are also unique for that particular individual. I call it UDF, unique differentiating factors. These unique differentiating factors are there for you and me, everybody. And only some people think about it. Some people are explorative. They want to find out what these are, and they are the people who become winners in life. So my book, actually, the Holistic Personal Development, I am dwelling on these UDF, unique differentiating factors, and helping people to identify what their individual unique differentiating factors are, how to cash in on them, and how to become successful in life.
Hmm. Can you give an example or some kind of method? Like you said, like belief is everything. Belief is not the most important thing. Belief is everything, because unless you believe in something, nothing will move further. So if somebody is doubting themselves, what is the first point where they can take action to start believing themselves? What should they do precisely? Is it like affirmation, or is it some other kind of quick tips which could help somebody to start believing in something?
See, starting to believe oneself is that first of all, I had to understand, I had to believe this is a belief is everything. I
Yeah.
had to believe that I have got certain unique characteristics, unique potential, unique
Hmm.
capabilities within me, which I have not yet found out. I
Right.
had not yet found out what are my unique capabilities, unique talent. Talents,
Hmm.
of course, I am saying in the first book that how the talents are formed. Talents are formed prenatally. Before your birth itself, talents will be formed, and up to
Right.
3 years of age, the
Right.
talents will be formed and all.
Hmm.
And it, although, okay, after 3 years of age, you cannot create a new talent altogether for you, but
Hmm.
then you have these talents with you, you have to identify. Say, for example, certain things I am able to do much faster, certain things which I am able to do much faster than others, or
Hmm.
I spend lot of time doing a particular thing. I'm not aware of the time moving and hours together I am spending doing that work, etc. So that means I am using a particular talent. I'm
Hmm.
passionate about doing certain things because I am using a particular talent. So that
Wonderful.
way, no pain, no gain. You have to take pain to find out as to where exactly your potential lie, where
Yes.
exactly your talents lie. And
Absolutely.
that way, once you identify, when you start to get, once you start to identify the talent, the potential that is within you, then your beliefs start
Hmm.
slowly but steadily start increasing in yourself. That way, you
Wonderful.
develop the self-confidence and self-esteem like that.
Hmm. Yes, yes. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. So, Dr. Nair, let's now talk about. I know this book is for everybody because holistic personal development is something which is required by everybody. So, audience is definitely everyone who is. So, can you talk about, like, when you wrote this book, who was the target audience in your mind? Like any specific set of people, or it's like for majority of people? Talk about that.
No, in fact, my main target group, which I had in my mind, was younger generation,
Hmm. Okay.
teenagers as well as the younger generation people, whom actually, which I have already told, because these are the people who have to identify their potential and their
Hmm.
talents at a very young age, so
Hmm.
that their the full life which is in front of them, so they
Yeah.
can be very successful. Of course, anybody for that matter, as you pointed out just now, anybody for that matter can imbibe these things and put into practice at any point of time.
Hmm.
If I can write books and become a best-selling author at this age, okay, then anybody can do it at a much
Yes.
younger age also. So
I got it.
main in this is like this. They have to, as I said, what lies within you, which is something more than what lies in front of you and behind you. Then you are. I had to think that about my UDF, like my thumb impression, which is unique for me. Certain things are there within me. All
Hmm.
these things they have to understand, and then they have to take. Perseverance is the key for success. They have to
Absolutely.
persist on certain things because
Hmm.
they have to stick on certain things. So
Yep.
then they will definitely find out as to their capabilities and they can.
Wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
that way the answer to the question is that my main target group is younger generation.
Yes. Sooner somebody starts to realize these hidden potentials, their UDF, better it is that they won't be wasting their time
That's it.
into unrewarding careers, and they could choose their careers very well in advance. But yes, there is
Right.
a wonderful quote which goes like this: best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is now.
Now,
So
right now,
even if,
right.
yeah, even if somebody is thinking that no, my young age is gone, I can't do it now, the best time is now. As you rightly give the example that you can publish at this age, own your own, and make it bestseller. So anybody can do at any point of time these things. Wonderful. So it is a great discussion going on, Dr. Nair. Now let's shift the gear a little bit. Now let's talk about your author journey. I know you writing is your passion for some adolescence age, and you got inspired about that. But now writing is one thing, but publishing, you have published through banks or through other publications, through some magazines. But what about the journey of publishing your book on your own and taking it to the Amazon India bestseller level? Talk about that journey. How was it?
It was a really wonderful journey
Hmm.
to put it in forward. But then I think that I think I get I understand your question as to what are the payoffs from this writing. as well as
Ye-
publishing, as well as sitting number
Yeah, a
one
little bit
bestseller.
journey, like what kind of challenges you have faced in publishing
Challenge.
journey.
Okay,
Yeah, and
okay,
what did you
okay.
learn from them?
Okay, challenges for that matter, for the reasons I already stated, writing was, there was no challenge as such for me
Of
to
course.
write, because especially for this particular series on holistic personal development and all, I'm writing on a genre that is very much part of me, because for the last
Yes.
couple of decades, every day this I'm doing as a trainer also. I'm conducting regular training programs. So this is part
Yes.
of my job, part
That's
of
why I said.
my,
That's why I
yeah.
said you are
So
a born writer kind of person. So in terms of publishing yourself, that's a different
publishing,
journey.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Writing, okay, but then publishing, actually, my publishing, I was not knowing anything. It was totally Greek and Latin to me. But then once I joined your course, then I got the nitty-gritties of publishing. I got from you new words like metadata, your new meaning of categories, keywords, and all these things.
Keywords.
New words were added to my lexicon thanks to joining your course and all.
Hmm.
So that was there. Then, of course, to be frank, the only challenge I encountered in writing is that my time management. Because
Hmm.
continuously, regularly, I'm having training program. I'm doing public speaking, because something which I have not yet told is that I am a disciple of my spiritual master Navajyoti Sri Karunagara Guru.
Okay.
A spiritual organization is in there in Trivandrum,
Hmm.
Thiruvananthapuram, which is an
Hmm.
internationally famous spiritual organization.
Hmm.
So, as the disciple of that guru, I have to do a lot of public speaking. Then my radio talks are there, my webinars are there. I have to make paper presentations in international seminars and all. So these are standing in the way of my devoting more time for writing. So
Hmm.
if you are asking me the challenge, perhaps that is the only challenge which I have been encountering. As to
Yes.
finding time, suitable time, because writing means you have to sit back and you have to think and all. So that way, it is a bit of challenge. That's all. That is
How did
my
you
other.
how did you manage this challenge? Like you are so busy doing so many things and inspiring people through trainings, webinars, speaking, radio talks, and everything. How did you find time? Was it some kind of personal trait of yours that helped you in writing? Despite such a big, people keep on saying to me in the webinars that I'm busy, I don't have time. And if a person like you is so busy, can do it. So, what is the advice to those people that time problem can be sorted by which means? Talk about that.
Where there is a will, there is a way.
Ah,
So if you are particular that you should be writing, then you should find time. You will definitely find time. Okay,
wonderful.
pressure will be there, but then you like to set apart, say, at least say half an hour to 1 hour every day, like
Hmm.
what I'm devoting for reading.
Hmm.
Reading, I cannot imagine a day without reading some portion of a particular book, because that
Hmm.
was the habit which was inculcated in me by my uncle. So
Hmm.
from that time onwards, if I was reading regularly, that means, like that, for writing also, I'm setting apart some time. In fact,
Wonderful.
to go back to your this thing, AFH course. Once I joined the course, then it was that at a particular point of time when I joined the course, I was busy trainer. I was busy with the other works, as I
Hmm.
told just now.
Hmm.
Then once I joined the course and listened to your webinar for the first time, the writer within me woke up.
Hmm.
Writer within me was not very active, because I had this background of writing for long and all, publishing books for the bank and all. But then going to the public, going to the public domain.
Hmm.
The earlier previous works were actually for internal circulation within the
Hmm.
bank only. Now going to the public domain and becoming a published author, that was altogether a different cup of tea. And I
Hmm.
thought that, yes, having listened to you, I thought that, okay, self-publishing is my area. I don't want to
Hmm.
go after this traditional publishers to get
Hmm.
my books published, wait for months together, and then getting a paltry
Yeah.
royalty and all. So I
Yeah.
thought that I'll do it myself. So that
Hmm.
way I started. That is the way in which I entered into this publishing, self-publishing, and then published 2 books.
Wonderful, wonderful. Everybody who's listening to this session, so thing is that if something is important to you'll make it happen. If something is not, you'll make excuses for that. So if a busy person like Dr. Nair can write the books by finding time, by building a habit, because everything is about building habits. If you have right habits, you will be getting the right results. So wonderful, Dr. Nair, for sharing your book journey, your author publishing journey. Now, just little bit about your experience with the FH courses, community, weekly session. Let somebody who is thinking of venturing into this field, let him or her share, listen to your experience about this AFH community courses and weekly sessions. Yes, talk about that little bit.
Thank you. In fact, after joining the AFS course, what happened to me, the transformation, the type of transformation that has happened to me, I have got a couple of very important points to share. One is that I found that my personal brand image got a big boost. Some of these people listening to me may be wondering, what is this personal brand image and all? You have heard about the image of an organization, about a company and all, brand image. What is the personal brand image? Personal brand image, simply put in layman's language, is defined like this. What others talk about you when you are not there in the room? What others will be talking about you when you are not there in the room? That is your personal brand image.
Awesome.
And this is composed of three factors. One is your personal values. Number two, your personal strengths. Number three, your behaviors.
Wonderful.
Personal values. Let me briefly explain these three points.
Sure.
Personal values mean the quality of your life will depend upon the quality of questions that you ask. It is not the questions that you ask to the world. It is the question that you ask yourself.
Yes.
Generally, we are inclined to, we are more fond of asking questions to the world as to what is in it for me. WIIFM.
Yes.
What is in it for me? That is what people try to find out always. Instead of that, what is in me for others? This I have explained at length in my second book, Incredible World Power. What is in me for others? So these type of questions mean, what is the purpose of my life?
Yes.
What difference am I making? What is the social rent that I am paying to the world for the space occupied on the earth? During my life, for the space that I am occupying on this earth, what is the social rent that I am paying to the society? And for all these natural bounties, like free air that I am breathing, all the free things that the nature is giving, I had to pay a rent back to the world.
Yes.
That is what is I am doing. So what difference am I making? How will I be remembered? As Robin Sharma says, who will cry when you die? So what legacy are you leaving behind? These types of questions relate your values. That is about your values.
Wonderful.
Number two, your strength. Your strengths means your knowledge, your skill, plus your talents. Knowledge, of course, two types. One, the knowledge acquired from, say, somebody listening to this interview. Your knowledge acquired from book, knowledge acquired from training programs. All these things are knowledge picked up from books and all. Then your experiential knowledge, more important, your experiential knowledge. So two types of knowledge acquired from books and all. The other is the experiential knowledge. Then skill. Certain things over a period of time, you find that you are able to do it much faster than others, seamlessly and with perfection. So that is your skill. And then your behaviors, as we have touched upon this factor earlier, behaviors are your, external manifestation of your strengths.
Yes.
Your behavior is what is your perception. Your perception, your experience, your feelings, etc., are given to the world as your behavior. So these three things together, what is personal values, strengths, as well as behavior, together constitute your personal brand. That is one thing. This I found that because after joining the effort, my personal brand image got a big boost because I'm invited by people. In fact, next week only, I'm invited my veterinary friend for a felicitation. So like that, already 2 interviews I have had. So my personal image, brand image got a big boost. That is the number one payoff that I found after joining the AFS course. Number two is, see, Abraham Maslow has stated the hierarchy of needs. Basic needs is physiological needs.
Absolutely.
Need for roti, kapda, or makan.
Yes.
Once that need is fulfilled, you have the need for safety.
Yes.
Once that need is fulfilled, then you have the need for love and belongingness. Once that is satisfied, you look forward to getting some esteem. Esteem needs are there. Once that is fulfilled, then you come to the ultimate stage, self-actualization.
Absolutely.
I say that writing a book and finding expression to your own thoughts and feeling through printed words and all, or like ebook and all, whatever that be. So that is the best example one can give about achieving self-actualization in life.
Wonderful.
In fact, the Abraham Maslow, according to his contemporary suggestion, he added one more thing: self-transcendence. Self-transcendence also.
Correct.
So esteem needs, self-actualization needs, as well as self-transcendence. All the three can be achieved by publishing your own book. So I feel that that is another important payoff that I got.
Wonderful, wonderful. That is a matter of privilege that people are getting self-actualization by going through the
Yeah.
course. Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Then the next one is widening the circle of influence. You have
Yes.
got, all of us have got a circle of concern. We are
Yeah.
surrounded by the circle of concern. So many things are
Yes.
worrying me. My duties, my responsibilities, all of these are circle of concern. Within that circle of concern, there is a circle of influence where I can
Yes.
exert some influence. I
Yes.
find that by writing the book, you are influencing lot many people across the country and even internationally also. So my circle of influence got expanded like anything. So that is another advantage which I got because of
Wonderful.
joining this AFS course given by
Amazing,
you.
amazing,
Thanks to you.
amazing, amazing.
And one more point, if I am permitted, that is
Yeah,
the
sure.
spiritual transformation which I got. That is
Awesome.
something amazing. You are found it amazing, I should say, because see, as I mentioned earlier, I am a disciple of my guru. My guru often used to say that my religion is that of fraternity, brotherhood, and truthfulness. And he wanted to recoup the lost Sanatana Dharma as well as Yuga Dharma of Arsha Bharat. He wanted to bring them back through this master-disciple relationship and all. He wanted to establish an egalitarian society where there is no space for any differentiation based on caste, color, race, religion, etc., etc. This is not simply preaching, but in this particular lineage which I am belonging to, that is Shandagiri lineage, we are practicing that, sir, because the average position for the country as a whole is that just 5% of the marriages in the country are intercaste marriages according to Human Development Survey. But believe me, in our Santagiri lineage, we are having more than 70% marriages are intercaste marriages. So that is just one example to give. So like that, my guru's messages I want to get across the whole world, and that is my major mission in my writing my book. And what I want to say here in relating to this particular book writing and how I was spiritually influenced is how Guru has been influencing me while writing the book. Just one example I will give. In the first book on Boundless Power of Mindful Living, I am telling about how talents are formed and all. And contextually, I'm telling that the soul is entering in the fetal body in the 7th month of pregnancy. After conception, in the 7th month, soul is entering the fetal body. While I was discussing talents in the classrooms prior to this pandemic, people used to, because eyebrows were raised and they could not believe, they could not buy this concept that the soul is entering the fetal body only in the 7th month. Does it mean that the throbbing life inside the womb up to the 7th month is without a spirit, without a soul? So they could not digest that. But then I was wondering as to how I will substantiate this point in my book, because this is going to be read across the world. So how I will substantiate that soul is entering in the 7th month of pregnancy only, and not before that. The Garbha Upanishad, where it is mentioned that Saptame Mase Jeevan Samyukto Bhavati, Attame Mase Sarva Sampurno Bhavati. It doesn't mention as to why it is entering only in the 7th month. And there's a very famous reference book in Malayalam, Puranic Encyclopedia, where also it is mentioned that this soul is entering in the 7th month only. But nowhere I found as to the reason why it is waiting up to 7th month to enter the fetal body. In my meditative mood, I was wondering as to how I will substantiate, how I will solve this puzzle.
Right.
And something which amazingly which occurred to me, something which never occurred but prior to that time, in my meditative mood, when I want to substantiate this particular point, was in my mind's eye, I could visualize a chariot. I could visualize a glittering chariot with 5 white horses and a charioteer sitting, and somebody sitting behind, the traveler sitting behind the charioteer. When you hear that, what comes to your mind is, of course, that Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna and Arjuna are there. And but how many of us really understand that these symbols of chariot, horses, charioteer, the traveler in the chariot and all, these were taken in the Bhagavad Gita from Kathopanishad. Actually, Kathopanishad predates Bhagavad Gita. So in Kathopanishad, the protagonist, that a small boy, Nachiketas, when he asked a specific pointed question to Yamaraja as to secret of life and death, Yamaraja gives the answer by way of an analogy, a beautiful analogy where he says that Atmanam dathinam vidhi, Shariram dathamevacha, Buddhim tu saratim vidhi manapragraham cha. Atmanam Dethinam Vidhi. Understand that the soul is a traveler in a rath or chariot. Shariram Ratham Evaja. That Ratham is the chariot is your body. Buddhim tu saratim vidhi. The charioteer is the intellect. Manapragraham Evaja. The bridle or the reins in the hands of the charioteer, that is the Buddhi, is the mind.
Right.
And which are the horses? Indriyani hayanahur vishayam teshu gocharan atmendriya manoyuktam bhoktetyahur manishinaha. Indriyani hayanahur. The horses are the five sense organs. And vishayam teshu gocharan. These sense organs are called, the horses called sense organs, are reveling in the sense object. Joining with the mind, intellect, as well as the body, the soul is traveling this journey called life. So this is the beautiful analogy which has been picturized in Katha Upanishad. And this came to my mind at that point in time. But then
Wonderful.
how I am substantiating this, that this is entering, this soul is entering the seventh month of pregnancy. The answer is that, see, suppose you are entering into a chariot, you want to go somewhere, and you are entering into a chariot. Chariot may be something old we cannot think about. Forget about chariot. Think about an auto rickshaw, think about a cycle rickshaw, think about a taxi. Will you enter into the taxi or the auto rickshaw or cycle rickshaw before it is getting ready? You will enter into the taxi or auto rickshaw only when the taxi is ready to go, ready to move, when the driver is there, everything is there. So what is happening in the seventh month of pregnancy is that the seventh month of pregnancy, the explosive development of the brain and nerves happen, and the sense organs become functional. Sense organs, especially the hearing power, the power to say, power to speak, power to distinguish the voice of mother as well as others outside. All these abilities are developed in the seventh month of pregnancy in the fetus within the womb. And that is the reason why once these are functional, then only the traveler, the journeyer will enter into the chariot called the human body. That is
Amazing.
how the soul is entering in the seventh month of pregnancy.
Wonderful.
So like that, many experiences I had where my guru told as to how I should proceed. This is because of for fear of time, I don't want to escape further. But this is just one example I gave.
Amazing. So, Dr. Nair, I mean, because you chose to publish your book yourself, because all these things like are coming to the world. I mean, had you not chosen to do that stuff, the world would have been deprived by this knowledge. So there are so many people out in the world who are so much talented, so much information they have in their head, but they are struggling for their message to come out. They're waiting for the publishers. They're not writing the books. So precisely, I invite all the viewers of this video, if you have some important message to share with the world, if you have a knowledge which is lying in you, if you have a gift which is inside you, which you want to which you want to unpack and show it to the world, then I invite you to, join our community. There is a link below this video, which is precisely taking you to mini training that will help you to understand about this program, which Dr. Nair attended. And there are 1,000+ people already attending that. And Dr. Nair's book, 2 books are there. I'll be putting the links of these books below this video. And really, Dr. Nair, this was such an amazing discussion happening. I wish I could have been going on this interview for an hour or so, but yes, we'll have this for some other day. But it was really, really enlightening to listen to your thoughts, your perspective about the life in whole. And I'm sure the watchers or listeners of this video, they will be definitely getting a lot of insights from this interview. After that, I recommend all of you to grab his book so that you could understand more about the holistic personality development. So with that, we are now about to end this show. And before I end the show, Dr. Nair, it was really a privilege to have you on the show. I won't let you go from this show without having a parting piece of advice from your side to the audience at large. Please, over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. In fact, my parting piece of advice, what I would like to give is that I would suggest people to, majority of the people have this problem. I want people to come out of the comfort zone. People are staying in the comfort zone. Okay, there is no tension, there is no stress. You can have a very peaceful sleep at night. You feel that you are safe. You feel that you are in control and all when you are in the comfort zone. But please understand that within the comfort zone, there is no growth.
Yes.
Comfort zone is a no growth zone. Then why people are remaining in the comfort zone? Why they are not coming out of the comfort zone? For fear of failure. For fear of failure, they are not coming out of the comfort zone. But I am reminded of Tom Hopkins, who has said that you are not judged by the number of times you fail. You are going to be judged by the number of times you succeed. And the number of times you can succeed is in direct proportion to the number of times you can fail until get up and go forward.
Amazing.
So
amazing.
it is the number of times you can succeed that will determine, that will be the factor for judging your capability. So you have to understand that you have to come out of this comfort zone. When you come out of the comfort zone, you are entering into the fear zone. Fear zone is a zone where there will be all sort of say dissuading, discouraging remarks from the other people and all. Your own self-doubt will be there. And there is a one problem, another problem that in medical parlance you say, any word ending with ITIS is inflammation. You know, meningitis, inflammation of the brain. Hepatitis, inflammation of the liver. Bronchitis, inflammation of the lung. Like that, there is an inflammatory disease condition of the human mind, which is called exusitis. Exusitis, finding excuse for anything and everything and not doing what is really to be done. So you find excuses and you don't do that. You have to remove that exusitis and all and come out of the fear zone. There you will enter the learning zone, where you will pick up new skill, where your own self-confidence will be. See, because stickability is the 95% of the real ability. 95% of the real ability is stickability. You have to stick on to that. You have to endure. You have to endure the pains and all, pains and pangs and all, and then only you will be able to proceed. So come out of the fear zone, then you come enter the learning zone, where you pick up new skill, you develop your confidence and all, and finally you enter the growth zone. There you realize your dream. There you find your goal. There you conquer your objectives and all. There you are setting your new goals and all. So from comfort zone, through fear zone, and through learning zone, enter the growth zone. That is my advice to the younger generation who are doubtful of themselves and who are hesitant to step into this area of exploring themselves and finding out their own self potential inside.
Wonderful, wonderful. This was such a wonderful parting piece of advice. Everybody, comfort zone is a wonderful island, but unfortunately nothing grows there. So thank you so much, Dr. Nair, for the wonderful session we had today with us. And I'm sure that people will be definitely loving your session. So now I request all of you who are watching this video till so far, if you have a writer inside you, get outside the comfort zone and start your writing journey. If you are looking of any of the life journey, any of the challenges, do all these zones. The zone is get out of uncomfort zone, then get into the fear, get out of fear zone, get into learning zone, then get into the lastly your growth zone. So thank you so much, Dr. Nair. It was wonderful having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I thank you very much, because this is an excellent, wonderful opportunity that you have given me, giving exposure to the whole world. And I also want to thank all my listeners who are watching this particular video. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, pleasure. I'm really blessed to have people like Dr. Nair in the community, because that this is improving the quality of the community people over here. Thank you so much, and everybody will be meeting next time with the next wonderful interview in this session. Thank you so much, Dr. Nair.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.